Let's get you inside now, okay? There it is. Certainly. Okay, we'll cross.
I don't think we've met. I'm Miriam, the current rabbi.
It's a bit different than the one I designed. I'm not surprised you pulled it down.
Oh, I think pull it down is an overstatement. We simply reimagined.
This is the new architect. This is Kathy.
Oh, hello. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Yes.
And welcome to the new FRS. The original brief I wrote in April 2010, and it was very much focused on creating a building that reflected FRS values. It was very much about inclusivity, so we were very conscious of making sure that anybody and everybody can get their way around the building, got access to all the building, that we had the right sort of toilets. And toilets were one of the most talked about elements in the whole scheme of things.
The first thing I did was put an advert in a local newspaper. I was tasked with seeing if there was scope for a Reform Synagogue north of Ailey's Gardens. And I had a number of replies. I say number, probably 12 or 13 or something like that, maybe. So we met in my house and we just discussed the possibilities. So between us all, an RSGB, we produced a constitution and decided to call it, make it a synagogue and call it Reform Synagogue.
I was pregnant, and that was about the end of 1960, and so we joined. And I had my first child in 1961, and he was baby blessed in the March. The community was held in a church.
We kept on hearing these kind of rumours and interesting things happening in this new congregation that had formed itself in Finchley.
And we had functions. It got everybody together. You know, sort of wine and cheese in those days, and car rallies and dances. I can remember dancing with Bernard Breslau. We had to start the dance. I mean, he's up there and I'm down here.
That way brought other people in, and if they joined any of the social functions, they considered coming to the synagogue. And it was beginning.
The community started to grow, and we were all mixing, enjoying each other's company, and thinking, where was it going to go from there?
I believe there was discussion, do we go for a building or do we go for a rabbi?
Yes.
At the time, because we couldn't do both. And I think at the time, initially, they decided we'd go for the rabbi.
Even if some people from Finchley were a bit doubtful about me in the very early days, that all seemed to disappear. So they were a good crowd, Finchley. People were saying, we'll get this for you, we'll get furniture for you, we'll do this. Everybody had a line which they could use and say to somebody, please do this for our rabbi.
What you're describing in a way is not only the development of you as a rabbi, but it's also the development of a community.
It was, yeah.
We were reading, we were thinking, we were sharing, as well as a very vibrant social background in this community. The Ladies' Guild was a very important, prominent part of the synagogue. Yeah. Once a year on Women's Day we took the service, Dear Susan, may I congratulate you and the other members of the Guild on the way you conducted the service last Shabbat morning. This was, of course, a special service, but I know you are aware that the ladies of the synagogue can participate in the services as a matter of normality. I wish you every success in educating both men and women in this basic principle of Reform Judaism. It is not as easy as it may appear. I don't know when it ever appeared easy. I look forward to the day when a woman even elevates the scroll.
You were the first female to carry a scroll in the synagogue. I seem to recall giving it to
I was, and we were in the Territorial Army Hall for a High Holy Day service, and I was asked to carry the scroll. I don't think it was to do it.
No, I think I gave it to you.
And 2 families of the congregation left.
God.
Yes.
Right.
They would not.
Yeah.
They would not stay with a woman who was going to be carrying the scroll around the synagogue.
I think Edward was taken aback. He couldn't quite believe what was going on. You found it difficult at the start to see women, although he wasn't religious, he just found it difficult.
It wasn't traditional.
No, it wasn't traditional.
One of the big welcome elements was having a reception, that people would be sitting there to help people when they came through the door, but into a foyer that became a heart to the building.
Miriam said she wanted a cafe. On a Monday it's meet and make, where people come along and stitch and knit and have coffee and chat. The mums, they'll have a coffee before they pick up for nursery. Sometimes the kids come and have a treat after nursery, so I think it's working out really well.
As time went on, it started to grow bigger and bigger. And obviously, that wasn't big enough. The question arose, could we build our own? And you know the result. In 1973, we built a new hall. So I designed all that. And that's the way it was when you came along.
There was this long-haired hippie rabbi here, Jeffrey. When he arrived, he had a long black beard. What were your thoughts about employing him as rabbi?
Well, it's like a lot of things in life. No comment.
There was only one thing, really, which brought me to Finchley Reform Synagogue, and it was you and the family. There was a holiness. It was a very everyday, down-to-earth holiness. I felt there's something here that I could be a part of. I'd like to learn about this.
I think most Reform synagogues were of a type. We came in after the war and we wanted something different.
Already it was not like any other community. Already it was dedicated to changing the world. Not everyone, but there was a strong grouping in the synagogue which was aware of living for others.
It did have a reputation for being involved with all sorts of really kind of wacky ideas. That was partly the relationship between the rabbi, Jeffrey, and Neville Cecchini, that the two of them together hatched up schemes like sponsoring a well in Burkina Faso through Oxfam. That was the social action project. I was asked to be Director of Education, right. 1982, and being Director of Education was a really good post for me to have because it was part-time and it gave me time to do other things. And that pattern, as you know, has been ever since that, trying to hold a creative balance between rabbinic work and psychotherapeutic work.
It never made sense to me, the single-handed rabbinate, for all sorts of reasons. Partly that different people in a community need different sorts of rabbis, and partly that what was expected of a rabbi was you couldn't do it.
One of the things which Finchley did was that Rabbi Sheila Shulman, who was one of the two gay rabbis at that time, along with Lionel Blue, that she had a role here in the community. She was working part-time in the community, and that was a really important development. Because I think she was one of the first people to get a post as a gay lesbian rabbi in this country.
Yeah, that's really good.
It was Jeffrey's vision to use recent bar and bat mitzvah children who'd gone through the process to be the teachers of the next generation. And this had never been done before, certainly not in this country. And there was a lot of opposition to it in this community because people thought, oh, how can you have teenagers teaching, 12-year-olds? But Jeffrey really pressed on with that and was quite insistent on it, from what I remember. And it proved not just successful here, but proved to be a model which other communities then picked up.
So we find the pupils benefit a lot and gain a lot from having someone who's just been through it. It's really recent in their memory. They're very able to remember sort of exactly how their own weekend went and pass on also comfort around nerves and that sort of thing as well.
The Friday group had been outstanding as a way of holding the synagogue, developing the synagogue, because the people that were in the Friday group are now coming up and are becoming parents, and that their children are becoming B'nai Mitzvah. It's just really wonderful to see these generations coming through the synagogue, and it gives the synagogue life.
I think that you, Jeffrey, have this extraordinary ability to be part of the synagogue, almost like part of the congregation, and be its leader and be its rabbi. You just knew how to get people in and involved in a very extraordinary way.
I think I came for the religious stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to come to shul for religion. This is who you are. We're Jewish. But my husband isn't. He wasn't Jewish. He was Jewish by birth, but hadn't done very much. Just the sort of obligatory once a year. And I think that his involvement with the charity committee and coming in and feeling like he can come to Shabbat service and say, I'm going to Arsenal this afternoon, or I'm going here, or we're doing this, without having to worry about what other people are thinking, I think that's when the community played a big part, and that's when we felt like, oh, there's other people like us.
I was one of the co-founders of the Noah Project, which you were very kindly a part of as well, back in the late 90s. I think we started following the Newbury bypass debacle. And at the time, it was the only Jewish environmental group in Britain. And I think we achieved quite a lot. The group morphed into the Big Green Jewish website and has now spawned other ventures in the Jewish community, not least XR Jews and so on, which is another evolution. It's a constant evolution, I think, of activity. And I know a lot of FRS members are very environmentally engaged and constantly trying to move on with initiatives that make the community greener and that spread out into the wider world.
The year that Rabin was assassinated, and I was on a retreat with Rabbi Lionel Blue, and I came out of that retreat saying, I need to start offering spirituality groups in the synagogue. And that's what I did. We did it for 25 years and more, up till COVID. That work was very focused on working with a group or groups on their own personal and spiritual development.
Powered doors.
Yeah, open
Oh, I
doors.
see, automatically,
Yeah.
yes. So, yes.
I myself don't make much distinction between psychological development, personal development, spiritual development. They're just words to describe human growth, human possibility, and the fact that we're kind of surrounded by a mystery.
Your call, your say, your will, your way. I am blessed.
Many people in the community were very sad that Geoffrey was leaving.
After Geoffrey retired, there was a space in which a new rabbi had not yet been appointed. And the synagogue council appointed a new rabbi who had to be approved by a majority of the membership. Geoffrey and I talked about what might be possible to hold things together. And I was already mediating by then, and I said, well, obviously dialogue, if we can manage it. We set up a process which eventuated with a large gathering in the then hall, synagogue hall. There were around 400 people, and I think it was 75% had to approve her. And something less than that, close, but not the full majority, approved.
It was an interregnum period. There's a gap in my mind. And maybe the gap in the mind represents something about that was a kind of a dip in the community's life, and gradually a kind of resignation and recognition, okay, it opens up a new possibilities.
When I was about 15, we did a joint sleepover, and we brought the Aleph teenagers to FRS for a sleepover. I remember turning to my friend Risa, and I remember saying to her, you know, it would be really weird to be the rabbi at Aleph because everybody's watched me grow up, but this synagogue is really amazing. It's much cooler than Aleph. And I remember that feel of it being relaxed and informal, and I guess the fact that we were asleep on the bimah was part of that feel of like, this is somewhere I already feel comfortable as a teenager. Wouldn't this be cool?
What does it mean to you to be a rabbi?
I think it means to build community and to walk alongside each individual within that community. And I think that's why I started my job here by phoning people. Because for me, being a rabbi is not standing on the bimah and leading services, because any member of the community can do that. It's really about what it means to walk with people during life. And that's why life cycle moments feel particularly poignant. Brill, okay.
Yeah, should I do after reading?
So do the after you finish reading, because there's nobody else to do the blessings. Bim bum, bim 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 bum, bim 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 bum. Do I run Cuddle Up Shabbat to make sure that our under fives know the blessings for the wine and the challah and the... Do I run Cuddle Up Shabbat so that those families are getting a taste of Shabbat? Or do I do it because it is a very beautiful way of starting Jewish identity, being in relationship with other people at the same part of your journey, and beginning that sense of community as part of your daily, weekly piece that brings us together? Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I think that when you train to be a rabbi, you are taught the practicalities of Judaism, right? You're taught how to facilitate Judaism for people. But actually, Judaism is part of who they are. And if those two bits are seen as in any way distinct, then Judaism becomes something performative, but then you're really struggling to also make it meaningful and nourishing for them. Whereas if you take the stance that actually what you're doing is guiding people on their life's journey, and that it's our Judaism that is the thing that kind of puts us in relationship with each other, then I think you find yourself in a slightly different role and create community in a different way. I think my best ever decision that I made with the synagogue was recruiting Zoe Jacobs to create the first cantor in this country.
Miriam had an option of, you need another colleague, and everyone assumed that would be another rabbi, and instead I was hired. And I think Miriam could have dealt with that in lots of different ways. What she did was bring me in as really a total equal, and together we got to lead the journey for the last 15 years. She'd already been here a few years. Mm-hmm. We knew each other when we started working, but we weren't as close as we are now. And what we built together as a friendship and as a way of working together was just incredibly easy.
Anything that I think of as my greatest hits are things that I did in collaboration with Zoe, because that's what made them great. And so whether it's the B'Yachad services for adults with special needs, whether it's Rhythm and Jews as a kind of different and innovative way to do family services as it was when we first started them. All of those moments are actually things I could never have done without her.
Jack down run it, diva 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 jack down run, diva 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 day, ba da ba day, ba da ba jack down run it. Abadoo dee with an Labrador, abadoo dee with a wobbin' up, seven up, wobbin' up today. Is that what you had in mind? Came to Yelanu, Kos Yeshuot Esa, Uvashem Adonai Ekra. When I started thinking about my bat mitzvah, was the first time that I said out loud, I was very musical. I played piano, I played flute, I loved music, but I at the time said, I will not sing in front of the congregation. It's terrifying, I'm not going to do it. And Suzanne Lynn convinced me that it was worth a try. And let's just see what happens. When I was a teenager, and a group of people, all people who are still involved in the community, said, we want to be part of Friday night services, we want to sing. And we kind of created this, really with your blessing and I think encouragement, created a youth choir. But that wasn't about any one voice. So that was easy and comfortable and was all about getting the community to sing. And arguably, that's what I've been doing for the last 25 odd years. met last year, we were in a really different place. And so this feeling of we are walking in the light of God, I would say, had a sense of surety that I'm not sure that we have this year. Together we will create the right energy, but I'm giving you a heads up now, that energy is not, right, it's not, that's not the vibe. So while the song I still think is a beautiful expression of this text, we're going to need to bring it down a little bit. We can't have, I don't think it can have the same surety and joy that it may have had last year. So let's play a little bit with that and see how it goes. I often talk about music being like a midrash on the liturgy. That we can, take a text and we can understand it really differently depending on whether the music that we're singing is really upbeat, is really reflective, is really calm, is really harmonic. What's the message we're trying to give? We partly get that from the words we're saying, but I think for many of our community it's as much the way that we say them. And so I think I started to think of music kind of actually like in a film, that it helps to communicate the text, and that became the thing that I was the most passionate about.
We have a reputation for making a difference in the community and in the borough. The winter shelter, which is done with Barnet homeless group. So to open up the community for people in December, January, February to come and have a meal and to be able to sleep here. Through London Citizens, through lots of social action programs, we have a tradition which goes back to your time as rabbi, of a commitment to ethical practice as an expression of our Jewishness. And I think for a lot of members, that is the most important part of their Jewish identity.
The local news told us all of an arson attack on a Muslim community centre in Muswell Hill. It was following the death of drummer Lee Rigby, and it was one of those awful moments where not only did we not even know there was a Somali Lebanese community 5 minutes down the road, but that real sense of really that can happen in our, on our doorstep. Actually, the first big hurdle that the community are going to face is that they need somewhere to, can only say Doven Ramadan prayers. They probably wouldn't use the word Doven. We had been grappling with could we do this? And we had a really lovely system of 2 of their members on the door every day welcoming their members, and 2 of our members every day welcoming to the building, to then create a lifelong relationship with another community.
The pandemic affected everything. If you think that the currency of synagogue is people, taking away the most basic unit of interaction was so disruptive. I think for people, the idea that they couldn't gather in any way was, it's anathema. I mean, now it's really hard to think about because we've done it. But at the time it was horrendous. And because we have some incredibly quick thinking volunteers able to support the professional team, FRS was able to pivot really quickly. So when this all happened, I was a final year rabbinical student, but I happened to be a final year rabbinical student with a master's in education technology. clergy team put together this programme of daily activities that gave people something that had been taken away from them. It gave them the chance to be seen and to see others and to have a relational interaction.
We pray for healing of the body. We pray for healing of the soul. And our Father, oh, please heal us now.
Not everyone was able to attend funerals of people who died. Not everyone was able to gather, but the synagogue remained as this sort of witness to everything that was before. And in the middle of the pandemic, we had to say, we're moving on. So we thought very carefully about the final service. We needed people to have a goodbye moment, to see us leaving, see the scrolls leaving. It was very emotional.
We are so lucky to be able to join together. Between the 4:30 and 6:30 sittings, we will have had 700 people together with us to light the Hanukkah candle. It is really just an incredible way of being able to say, yes, we need to keep safe. And yes, we know that this Hanukkah is different from all other Hanukkah, but we're going to make it fun, and we're going to find the light and the positivity and the joy. For me, online services were something quite special that got me through my COVID journey, and I know was kind of impactful for the whole community. The drive-ins and the stadium High Holy Days as our way of being able to say, we'll do whatever we need to do to be able to bring Judaism into this moment.
I think the pandemic had a huge impact because we lost a lot of our lay leadership. And in part, I think we, the current clergy team, take responsibility for that because we needed things to get done. We weren't really sure how to keep people safe. And one of the ways that we kind of tried to do that as best as we could was to just do as much as we could ourselves. And the model that you set up, which I think was try and create a situation whereby if I'm not here, the community still functions perfectly well without me, you, anybody. And I think we were still doing relatively well with that as our way of operating until the pandemic. And now what we found is we're back together in this extraordinary building, and we are desperately, desperately short of lay leaders. That's not FRS. We are not a community that should be all led from the front, all professionalised, and we lose out. We've lost the kind of democracy of leadership. So right now, the thing that I'm really kind of obsessed with, actually, is how to rebuild our lay leadership.
Will you remember? Bring me sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary, till
I'm amazed at the people who've created this, because it's something that I could never have imagined. Synagogues don't have any real design on the outside, right? Yeah. You get Christianity have churches and cathedrals. Islam have mosques. The Jewish religion is what goes on inside that matters. Yeah.
Kedushat hayom ki hu norav hayom uvot naseh malchutecha v'yikon bechesed kisecha.
What the younger generations growing up in this community are going to have to face, maybe Jewishly, but certainly in terms of their human being on the planet, are going to be extremely demanding. I think one of the hopes I do have is that people build up enough religious and spiritual resources to manage the decades ahead. I've got grandchildren at this kindergarten, and they're going to face imaginable things, and my hope for the community, not just for them as individuals, for the community, is that we're giving enough for people to draw upon in times of need. I don't know whether we are.
It's been a pleasure to meet you. And I hope to see you again. Come and read a story to the children
that
sometime.
Might not be as easy. That easy.
We'll find a bigger chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you. Lovely to meet you. Thank you so much.
I think the whole nature of community is about ensuring that people have connections with each other. It's, if you think of the kind of Buba, I, thou, the kind of relationship we have with God is one thing, and surely that's part of a Jewish community. But I think the thing that in the 21st century is the biggest struggle is often the relationship that goes this way between us and the people amongst whom we live. And actually, if you don't have community, if you don't have a group of people who really deeply know you and who you can ask for help and who you can also offer to help, it's a much harder life.
For Buba, the community of the I, thou, it's only through that you come to God. It's not a separate thing. Those two are interconnected. But this other element is the purpose of the Jewish community is to serve the world, is to help bring about a messianic future, by which is meant change in the world in which we live, to try to enable it to have greater compassion, mercy, justice. We're here to serve.
The things I most kind of treasure about this community, which has made my rabbinate as rich and as exciting and thrilling and wonderful as it has been, I think is the culture that you created. The ability to try new things, to be a bit adventurous and daring and take the community kind of on a journey is only, one's able to do that here because you created a community of people that saw Judaism as a space that was evolving and dynamic and open to be changed and struggled and grappled with. And that's, for me, what has made anything that I've done possible.
Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember? Bring me sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary, till I can carry on. Why are we making a sound? Why are we not just going, no, what's wrong with carry on.
Okay, so we're trying not to be negative. Okay, maybe I'm not sure that's going to necessarily get the desired impact. Hang on one second. Are we good? You're all right?
We're just carrying
okay, fine.